Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack. Back again to start covering more on Discipline Priest in Shadowlands Beta, and most notably, what's going on with the very latest changes that happened yesterday. Spirit Shell has returned to the talent table, and both Luminous Barrier and Light's Caress, talents on the 50 row that interact with Barrier, have been struck down and removed. I cannot believe I'm saying it because I thought they were going to go live with that stuff. Lenience returns in its usual slot, replacing Light's Caress, and Spirit Shell replaces Luminous Barrier. So Spirit Shell costs 2% of base mana, 1 minute cooldown, and for 12 seconds, and it's on the GCD, by the way, Penance, Powered Radiance, and Atonement create Absorb Shields instead of healing. Wow, we haven't had this ability back in quite a while, and let's talk about it. It replaces Rapture. And by replacing Rapture, you also don't have Evangelism coming in as well. So, very low cooldown that's coming into it, replaces Rapture, doesn't allow you to select Evangelism on the row, and can stack up obscenely high absorbs at the moment on beta. At the moment, throughout our testing on day 1, they did not have a cap, but I highly suspect that they're going to add about your health point times 50% or something like that, or 1.5, rather, to be good at math. Probably like 1.5% of your health or something like that, or 150% of your health, rather. I'd imagine it would be something along the lines of what the realistic cap would end up being. That being said, how realistic is it that you're going to be able to reach the atonement cap every single time? Maybe not too often early on in the expansion, because of the fact that a lot of fights are going to have more rot and like ticking damage, for example. So, let's talk about the advantages. During a regular ramp up, you are able to just get amazing chief efficiency. You know, you're making sure that every single ramp up can get near 100% value and reduce your overheal very heavily. What are some of the problems with it? Problems are you're losing some of your greatest resources to actually ramp and apply atonements. Not only was Rapture just providing very large shields in Shadowlands, it also had Legendary that synergizes with it that causes all of those shields to cost less to apply and to apply 6-second longer atonements. So when we go into the beginning of an expansion, efficiency is really important, and Spirit Shell takes a lot of that away. I do think, however, if you get into more of like a farming environment, you get into more of very rapid fights, very fast fights with high healer power, namely Farm Nyalotha that we're in right now, Spirit Shell would probably do really well. But if we start going into looking at the raid, for example, I don't really think it'd be that good because mana is much more scarce, and every powered shield or every Shadowman that you apply needs to generate a lot of value. Powered Radiance, the atonement applications that it provides for the cost, is very efficient on its own. But when we look at Shadowmend or Shield, they're really not as efficient as you'd like them to be, and that's where Evangelism, and that's where the Rapture with Rapture Legendary start coming into play, and they start making these abilities more efficient. Most of your mana cost as this really starts coming from Shadowmend or Shield. That's where you start draining a lot of your mana. Whereas Radiance is often very efficient for its cooldown, it's very efficient atonement application, especially when it gets further extended. So do I think that Spirit Shell is going to be utilized in raids? Probably not in progression, unless there's some very specific and very niche fights that are going to require it. Do I think that it's going to be used at all? Yeah, probably, especially during any sort of farm content, especially if you're able to get fed massive amounts of external mana, for example, that you are able to greater afford some of this very quick atonement application and very expensive direct, like Shadowman or Shield, atonement application in addition to the Radiance costs that are coming alongside of it. I think it's possible, but progression-wise, not so likely. I think that Spirit Shell will most find a place in specific instances for 5-mans, especially when you're able to utilize very heavy atonement transfers. So the Kyrian ability, the Boon of the Ascended, for example, you can put out a ridiculous amount of atonement transfers in a singular burst. And by building the stacks of the Boon of the Ascended, you're able to have that eruption that transfers through to Atonement on every single target it hits, unlike most other AoE abilities for Discipline. And that does end up creating massive absorption and massive shields at the moment. And I'd say through it all, that Spirit Shell has those situational moments, but comes at a very severe cost. Coming in and losing Rapture in a 5-man environment, even when you're a little bit less concerned about the Atonement duration efficiency, you wouldn't really run the Rapture Legendary in a 5-man environment. You are still, however, going to be very worried about making the most out of those absorbs. And if you're not having very heavy Atonement transfers, if you don't have a lot of ads out, if you don't have a lot of things to be able to hit and cleave off of, or you don't have a lot of Purge the Wickeds to continue generating more throughput for you, it's just going to make things more inefficient, and then Spirit Shell starts becoming more weak of a cooldown. So what we're going to be looking for is are any other abilities going to have that uncapped Atonement, like the Kyrian ability? Are we going to see that out of Divine Star? Are we going to see that out of Mindseer, maybe? You know, these things are kind of up in the air. That would certainly help Spirit Shell's case by being able to have a quick burst of heavy Atonement transfers that you can stack up and funnel into absorption effects. And then you're going to be able to use it to better mitigate specific mechanics, or just generally cleave or tank damage that's going to happen naturally throughout a dungeon. Lenience is also going to be coming back as a potential option, and I think that Lenience and Spirit Shell will often see some competition throughout Mythic Plus, while Evangelism will still continue to dominate raids because of its chief efficiency and how well it is able to synergize with the spec. Not every single situation is going to be, perfect for Evangelism ramps or something like that, but you cannot deny how crazy efficient it's going to be and how much it's going to help you in a raid environment where you don't have Lucid Dreams, you don't have Ever Rising Tide, you don't have the Obsidian Claw, and mana starts becoming a lot more of a factor that you need to think about as you're trying to kill a lot of the raid bosses through and through. Let me know what you guys think if you had a chance to watch any streams or check out anything about Spirit Shell just yet. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys would like to check out my stream. I'll be spending quite a bit of time testing it out and experimenting with different builds for it. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I hope you all enjoyed this quick video going over Spirit Shell, and I'll catch you all next time.